Yes, people, how are we all doing? Welcome all back to the channel. I wasn't, you know what? I'll be completely frank with you, people. I wasn't expecting to stream today. I wasn't going to. I was on Hassam's channel earlier. If you missed that, make sure you go and check out This Is Football. Me and Hassam discussed Liverpool being top of the league, who played well against Brighton, and what to expect from the title race, and a little bit of discussion on the manager and the appointments that have been made recently at FSG level. I wasn't expecting to do this stream today. And then I tuned in to Sporting versus Benfica. If you didn't know, it was the second leg of the Taça de Portugal semi-final. Sporting carried the 2-1 lead, but they had to go away to the Estadio da Luz. I think I've said the Benfica stadium name correctly there. I had to go away there. Tough game. Derby, because if you didn't know, Sporting Lisbon and Benfica are rivals. They're both from Lisbon. And Sporting left with a 2-2 draw, meaning they won 4-3 on aggregate. So they are through to the Taça de Portugal final. With that being the case, I came here today to discuss why Ruben Amorim has always been the perfect man for the Liverpool job. If you know me, you know I have been the guy on Ruben Amorim. From last season, from the dark days where I may or may not have suggested that Jurgen Klopp should leave my football club. Do I regret that now? Yes. But from those days, I have been the guy on about Jurgen Klopp. Not Jurgen Klopp, what am I on? I've been the guy on about Ruben Amorim. It's nearly midnight, people. I'm just so hyped. I was watching that Sporting game and I was getting properly into it. Because I could enjoy what I was seeing. I could see the vision. I've been on about this Ruben Amorim guy for a long, long time now. And obviously, last week, we had the news that Xabi Alonso was not going to be becoming Liverpool manager. He was going to stay at Bayer Leverkusen for one more year. So, all the focus then turned on to who we'd go for next. And people were throwing out De Zerbi. And people were throwing out Nagelsmann. And people have been throwing out Hansi Flick. I've remained on Ruben Amorim. And Ruben Amorim, I believe, hand on heart, will be the next Liverpool manager. I believe that work has already been done behind the scenes. I've been told that it's further along than what people have suggested already. Ruben Amorim, in my opinion, with everything I know about how this club operates, will be the next Liverpool manager. And that is a very exciting time for me because it's no Roberto De Zerbi, who there were so many problems with. There were so many problems with Roberto De Zerbi. If we'd have settled for Roberto De Zerbi, there would have been tears. There would have been tears because he's just not good enough. Nagelsmann, he's probably my third choice behind, obviously, Amorim and then Alonso. But again, there was concerns about attitude and about commitment. And, how is he going to get respect of the players? If you go look at how his time at Bayern Munich ended, it was really a real bad look for him. And obviously, like Hansi Flick, I think he's a little bit too old for what the club want. Same with Inzaghi, who I would personally have as the guy behind Ruben Amorim. But obviously, that's the case. But I'm here today to turn those Ruben Amorim doubters into believers. I think that people just need an explanation on what Ruben Amorim does, on how he operates, on why he is the best guy for the job. And I'm going to start off with the tactics because this has been a thing that has really sort of polarized people when I talked about it. And this is going to be probably one of the more in-depth tactical things I do. So before we get into it, if you're new here and you're not already, make sure you're hitting that like button, you're hitting that subscribe button, you are turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any more content. I promise this content is going to be more common now because, first off, I've got to thank every single one of you. Every single one of you. The content I've done recently, the stream with Hassam on Thursday night, and the videos I've been doing on Ruben Amorim, the tactics one and the short video on why I believe he should be the next manager, the 2-minute one, they have done numbers that I never expected. I think the Ruben Amorim tactics one is on 49,000 views, which blows my mind, people. I never expected anything like that. So I'm really thankful to every single one of you for the support you give me. And I promise you, when I'm seeing stuff like that, it just motivates me. It motivates me to come back, give you more consistent content. You're going to be seeing more collabs with people. I've got plans in my head for what I want to do. It's mainly going to remain Liverpool, but you will see bits and pieces of other clubs dropping in there as well. We're here to take over, people. I'm here, ready for it now. So, let's get into this little tactical analysis. Now, first I'm going to show you how he sets up Sporting. He sets up Sporting in this way. Let me just see. Is that better? That's better. You get it a little bit bigger here. So, this is what I believe, in my opinion, from watching Sporting Lisbon, the best setup for their team is. I believe it is Antonio Adan in goal, Nuno Santos at left back with Inacio, Sebastian Coates, and Usman Diamande. A wonderful young player called Jenny Catano, a right winger turn wing back who I would be really impressed with when I've watched recently. He's at right wing back, but there's Ricardo Esgaio as well, who's also a fantastic option potentially, and he's someone who's been with Ruben Amorim since the days at Braga. A midfield pivot of Morten Hajulmand, who scored the opener today, and Marita. On the right wing, Francisco Trincao, the youngster who did join FC Barcelona at one point, but he was with Amorim at Braga and then moved to Sporting with him, and he's been a guy there for a long time. Pedro Gonçalves, for me, the start of the Ruben Amorim reign. I know that everyone knows about Victor Gyökeres this season, who was up front, but Pedro Gonçalves was the guy who fired them to that league title in the very first season. He's been the guy at every big moment for them. Whenever Ruben Amorim has had a big moment, Gonçalves has been at the heart of it. And then obviously the guy this year who has been blowing people away in European football, Victor Gyökeres. There's also a lot of other really good players in there. There's Marcus Edwards. There is obviously Ricardo Esgaio, who I mentioned, Mateus Reis, who is a fantastic left centre back, left wing back sort of option. In the midfield pivot, there's a youngster who he's been around the Sporting team since the very first season, Daniel Braganca, but he struggled to get fitness. But now he's managed to get a run of games going recently, Daniel Braganca, and he's been cementing himself in the Marita spot recently. But just because of the consistency Marita has given, it would be Marita. If you want to go by some of the plays that he's had in the past, I mean, I can just pull up my list, my Ruben Amorim. Yeah, I've had this list prepared for a while, people. This wonderful list of all the key things about Ruben Amorim and why I think he's the best man. But if I look at some of the players who he's had and has had to let go, Nuno Mendes, Pedro Porro, João Palhinha, Mamadou Ugarte, and even if you want to go somewhere else, at Braga, he had Galeno, who, if you know, you know, Porto top scorer in the Champions League this year. That's just some of the players that he's had whilst at Sporting Lisbon. He's developed whilst at Sporting Lisbon. And if you didn't, and Mateus Nunes as well, how could I forget Mateus Nunes, the guy? So, people, I'm going to give you a quick little story. One of my favourite stories about Amorim's time. Obviously, Ruben Amorim joined Sporting Lisbon in a very weird situation. So, Sporting Lisbon were in real trouble in terms of, you know, finances. They were not performing very well. And then they went and spent 10 million quid on a manager, which was unforeseen at that time, especially in Portuguese football, but a lot of as well in the world. Not many people were spending that much money on managers. And there was a lot of concern in the Sporting Lisbon fan base about why they'd spent so much money there. And then the Sporting Lisbon owner came out and said, the sale of Mateus Nunes will fund Ruben Amorim. And after 3 years of working together, Mateus Nunes was sold for 43 million, paying off the entirety of Ruben Amorim's transfer fee 4 times over. 4 times over, which is crazy, people. It's crazy. But into the tactics. So he sets up in a 3-4-3. So both him and Alonso use a back three, but they use it differently. If I was to, I'll use this one, this purple one. You can't see me cursor. I'll use this purple one here as the Xabi Alonso style. So Alonso sets up like this, a lot more narrow, with wing backs pushed on a little bit higher up, essentially in build up. And when Bayer Leverkusen are building up, you'll often see Frimpong push on, and then they'll form a back four with them creating a little bit more space, and then Ezequiel Palacios moving in there, and Xhaka forming that pivot. Sporting don't do that. Sporting do not do that. Sporting end up in build-up, pushing Victor Gyökeres right up. Victor Gyökeres will go right up onto the defensive line. We'll just set up on a 4-3-3 now, since that's what most teams use. Gyökeres will push it right up. Gonçalves there. Trincao there. Hujuman will sit just slightly deeper of Morita. The defenders will split very far wide. Coates will often, at times, push slightly ahead of the two wider centre-backs, just to be another option in build-up. And you'll see the full-backs start a little bit higher up. And all Sporting plan to do at this point is wait. So they'll wait for the press. So you'll often see 1, 2, 3, 4. Not that high up, to be fair, but probably about there if they're starting with the keeper. 4, 5. He'll be there. Wing back, and then 2 centre backs here, and 1 will be probably on Victor Gyökeres like so. Sporting will effectively build up out the back here, inviting pressure, using the wide areas, trying to draw the press out. So we'll go press him. They're hoping that he'll come out there, he'll try and step in, and they're just waiting for the moment where someone can receive that ball in just the right amount of space. And when he does, when that space is opened up, you see here, when there's just that much space where Hujuman or Morita, or sometimes it's even Inacio or Diamande, has just enough space there, wing back bombs on. Wing back bombs on. Morita goes there. And a long ball is sent up, either into the feet of Trincao or in behind for Catano to get onto it. Sporting are happy to go long. Sporting are happy to use a bit of a direct style and build up. That's not to say they never will build up slowly, because there have been some wonderful team goals, especially when they try and play on the counter, which they can do very effectively, where you will see wonderful build up out from the back, where it goes through all the phases, practically touches everyone, and they're in there. But the most common way, and you saw it today, especially if you watched, the second goal especially was formed through nice build up at the back and then a quick direct pass up. And because of the way that they can catch teams out with the press, because of the numerical advantage at the back, and then committing players forward in such a, I'm going to use the term gung-ho, in such a gung-ho manner, they completely bypass the press and end up often putting themselves into situations where it is 6-on-5. And that's where the quick decision-making happens. And the fullbacks will stay wide. The wingers in Trincao and Gonçalves will tuck right in. Gyökeres sits right on the centre-back, ready to run off the shoulder. And Morita is there to sweep up second balls. And you'll see Sporting pen teams in. They can really pen teams in when they want to, because it's just non-stop relentless pressure. Hujuman will push up. Diamande will push up. Coates will push up. And Nacho will push up. They will sit with a very high line in terms of defence. And it's compact. And a lot of the chances come from wider areas where Catano or Nuno Santos, or in other situations, maybe Trincao or Gonçalves or Gyökeres, they're all aiming to push that ball into the middle to either Gyökeres or Paulinho. Get the ball into the striker, or lay it off to the wingers, who can do something a little bit intricate and fire it into the corner. They are a very well-organised, very well-structured team in their attack. But I would argue that even though they score 3 goals a game on average, which is mental, by the way, people, I think you've got to understand how mental it is scoring 3 goals a game on average. Their defence is arguably something even more impressive. But before we get into the defence, big ups to my guy Liam Byrne for the super chat. I appreciate the vision, mate. I appreciate the support, mate. I think I'm seeing the vision now. This is what we're here to do. We're here to turn Amorim doubters into believers. That's what we are here to do, people. So, defensively, obviously you'll see the same back three. Morita on the left, Hujuman on the right, Trincao, Catano, Muchans, Gonçalves, and Victor Gyökeres. Now, Sporting like to press very high up. One thing you'll notice about Sporting, especially, their 3 attackers do an awful lot of pressing, people. They do an awful lot of pressing. So, thank you. You have the striker there, the left winger there, the right winger there. You'll often see, so Trincao and Gonçalves will be man-to-man pressers. So their job is to deal with the fullback. Their job is to always deal with the fullback. They will be sitting right there, ready to deal with the fullback and ready to deal with whatever centre-back ends up picking up the ball. So if we do here, Gaetano will be there. Santos will be there. Maurice will be there. Hujuman about there. Diomande, Coates, Inacio. And you'll see them set up like this. Joman is always a little bit deeper than Maurice to use his deep line playmaking abilities. He's a really special player. So they'll build up, let's just say in this example, it goes from the goalkeeper to the right centre-back. In the situation where it goes to the right centre-back, Gyökeres will stay here. He will sit himself probably about there. In this sort of general area here. He will sit himself right there. So he can cover that, he can cover this, and he can move to cover that if needs be. Gonçalves will then move there. Santos will be touch tight to his winger. And you will see, in this situation, he either has to play a risky ball between the lines to Maurice, who is a fantastic presser and a fantastic tackler of the ball. And in that situation, it's very often or not that he will lose that ball. Maurice will win it, and then they are in a situation where they can chuck Gyökeres there, direct ball there, or Maurice goes straight to Gonçalves, who's in a situation where he's in a 2-on-2 against the centre-backs. The high press is incredibly effective if that's the case. More often than not, because teams have started to suss out what Amorim does, if that centre-back is there and they can't play out of this press, so Gyökeres has that covered, Trincao drifts in there, Catano's there, Joman sits here, and that they can't play out, so you'll just see a team go long, hope that centre-back can win it, and one of Inacio or Coates or Diomande will win that aerial duel, and they'll recycle possession, and they're straight back into it. It's a very effective press. There are situations, though, where they are played out of the press. So, thank you. Sometimes, Gonçalves will go there, but he'll mistime it, and all of a sudden the fullback's got the ball. If the fullback has the ball, the press has been bypassed. Gonçalves will try and bust a gut to get out there to delay. That's what, at this point, his tactic is. He's got to delay. He's got to make sure that he, in no situation, can just go bang up and down that line for free. Gonçalves will bust a gut to make sure that he's delaying. He's not going to win that ball back himself. He's not. Pedro Gonçalves is not this defensive oriented player, and the same with Trincao. They're not that. They can do it occasionally, but they're not that. So Gonçalves will be there, and you will see this team drop. Inacio will drop. Coates will drop. Diomande will drop. Catano will drop. And you'll see, this is one of the most interesting things about it. Sporting will just form a flat back five. Rather than have a back three with two wing backs, Catano and Santos took themselves right into that back five. Joman will sit there. Morita will sit there. Trincao will sit there. Gonçalves will sit there. And Gyökeres will sit there. And it is all very oriented in terms of shuffling over at the right points. It becomes a flat 4-5-1, and it is one of the most rigid systems to break. One of the most rigid systems to break people. Because you'll have not Gyökeres, the opposition striker. It probably sits a little bit deeper, to be fair. We'll put it there for now. Trincao, Joman, Morita, Gonçalves, and Gyökeres there. The striker will be trying to get in the half spaces, but it's so compact. You'll probably see midfielder 1 there, midfielder 2 there, winger 1 there, winger 2 there, DM probably sitting there, wing back trying to get out wide, left back trying to get out wide, centre backs put up to about there. And you'll see teams often end up just stuck in a situation where this doesn't work. That they just end up playing triangles there. Gyökeres isn't doing a mad dash there. Gyökeres is sitting in a zone here. He's sitting right in this zone, trying to cut off passes directly there or passes directly there. He's ready to move into those spaces. So then, if they move out wide, let's say they go here to the fullback. Gonçalves is ready on a matchup. Santos is ready to go if needs be. Morita drops in a little bit deeper. Gyökeres moves over. Joman moves over. Trincao moves over. And Catano tucks in. And everything shuffles left. Everything shuffles left. So he can either try and go alone, where he's going to be shown line by Gonçalves until he hits Santos, loses the ball. The likelihood of this pass being played in between this gap is minimal because Gonçalves will be there. He won't tackle, but he'll be there, touch tight, ready. So then it'll go back to the centre back, and then you'll see Catano spread out wide, Trincao spread out wide, Diomande spread out wide, Coates, Inacio, Santos, And then everyone just pushes up just that little bit to apply a little bit more pressure until eventually, in the ideal world for Ruben Amorim, the ball is sent long to the striker, the aerial duel is won, the midfielders pick up the second ball, play it back, and they recycle. It's a very well set up defensive system. There's a reason why Sporting has been one of the best defensive teams in Europe for the past 3-4 years. Ever since Amorim come in, they've been an incredibly well organised defence. Incredibly well organised. And especially when you look at the goalkeeper, Antonio Adan, and even this year they've got a young lad called Franco Israel in goal. They're not very good. I'll keep it 100% real. They're not very good. So what happens on the occasions that they are breached? The goalkeeper sometimes makes the save, sometimes doesn't. Now, how would this work if you wanted to, let's say, transition it to Liverpool? Sam, if we were transitioning this to Liverpool, I'll show you right about now. But first off, big ups my guy Ryan. Much appreciate to see you in the chat, mate. Much appreciate having the Mr. 16 out of 10 in the comments on a Wednesday morning. He says, why are you hyping up the future Barca manager? Strange behaviour, bro. The press, by the way, involves a huge gap between the defence and midfield. Not good. I've just explained on Ryan, that is by design. So that gap there is to invite it in between. It's to invite it there. And then that rest defence is so solid, but it's all set up in that way so that front three can be so risky with that press, should we say. It's set up like that so they can be so risky with that press, they can win it high up. And he relies on the athleticism of his midfielders. That's not a bad thing, by the way. Before people go, oh, what a terrible... Having athletic midfielders is not a bad thing. Amorim's teams are set up to be strong and athletic. That wins football matches more often than not now. That's why you see a lot more athletes, should we say. Has Mr. Pedro Stepulevde just tweeted something, has he? Let's have a little look, people. Let's have a little look. Pedro Sevu. I don't even know if I follow him, man. I should do, but I don't even know if I follow him. Yeah, I know who's tweeted about him. What's he said? What has he said? Could the final of the Portuguese Cup be your last game as Sporting's coach? Ruben Amorim says we'll see. LFC is leading the race and negotiations are taking place, people. Let me just make sure that... Let me pull this up on screen so we all know about this. Let me pull this up on screen so we all know about this. Right, so that should now be my bookmarks. Can you see I'm not really well organised for this? I did not expect this to come out at this point in time, people. I did not expect this to come out at this point in time. Come on, refresh. Thank you. So, people, if you have not seen it, Pedro Sepulevde, one of the most reliable journalists in Portugal, has said, could the final of the Portuguese Cup be your last game as Sporting CP's manager? Ruben Amorim says we'll see, and he says LFC leading the race. Negotiations are taking place. That is the first confirmation, really, that we've had from a journalist who maybe he's... I've been told he's pretty reliable. I've seen him going... I've seen him on some big outlets, especially in England. Maybe he's not, the most reliable in Portugal, but he's certainly got something about him. He's now confirmed that Liverpool are leading the race and that there are negotiations going on between the clubs about Ruben Amorim. And it lines up with what I've been saying in terms of what I've been told about people in terms of where Amorim's going, I expect to see Amorim as our next manager. And I'll touch on the Barca links a little bit later on, people. I'll touch on the Barca links a little bit later on. But if I can get back to it real quick, if I can get back to it, and yes, Iman, he does speak English. There are multiple clips online about him speaking English for any of the people who doubt that. But if you want to see how he'd set up Liverpool, it would be Alisson in goal. You would see left wing back, because I would expect him to stick with this system. The one thing I will say is I would expect him to stick with this system. He used it at Braga and they didn't use it beforehand. He used it at Sport and they didn't use it beforehand. He's structured this 3-4-3 around what he knows as a manager, what he wants to coach as a manager, how he wants to coach. So I'd expect him to carry this 3-4-3 over to the next team. The right wing back is a really interesting one. So he's got two options here. He could go for Mr. Number 84, Conor Bradley, or if there is a willingness on the part of Trent, that is where Trent would be. As the season progressed, as I've thought about the situation more, I don't see Trent being the wing back. So, right centre back would be Mr. Ibu Kanate. Number 5. In the centre, the big man, number 4, Virgil van Dijk. At left centre back, you would see probably a signing. I'm going to put new signing here, but I believe that you would see us go for Gonzalo Manasseh, obviously a player that he uses already at Sporting, but there's also the likes of Arthur Fiat or Piero Hincapié, or maybe he's willing to take the risk and put Ousmane Diomande, who's a naturally right-footed centre-back, over on the left, even though he really does like to have a left footer on that side. Left wing-back is another position that I do see the club going for in terms of a player. I would love for us to get Ryan Aït-Nouri. I think Milos Kerkez is also an option as well. There is also the potential world where he buys a winger, should we say, and converts him to a wing back. Because if you don't know, Nuno Santos was a winger when Ruben Amorim came in. Nuno Mendes was the left back. Nuno Mendes moved on. Amorim, instead of buying a new one, converted Nuno Santos into a left wing back. Now, DM number 1, first guy in the pivot, the leading presser in the pivot, should we say? I think this guy would be Alexis McAllister. 100%. I think Alexis McAllister has been fantastic this season for one, but definitely in the pivot, I think this is where McAllister would sit for Amorim. Now, this is where there's two options. There's two options here. He either goes for Wataru Endo. You see a Wataru Endo in there. Nuno Santos' left-footed, mate. Wataru Endo there is the more defensive one. Or, because Amorim is moving to a team with a very high-quality defence, bearing in mind, Virgil van Dijk, best centre-back in the league. Ibu Konate, one of the best centre-backs in the league when he's fit. He'd be buying someone who he wanted, Inacio, who, yes, he didn't have the best of games today, but is a really good defender overall. Hincapié is another really solid defender, and he's got two wing-backs who can defend. That'll be one of the key things he looks for. They can defend. If he doesn't go Endo here, and there will be a world where he does use Endo, by the way, or by Šetić in that case, especially when you go up against a top team, and he really wants to play pragmatic, you'll see a Wataru Endo slot in there just for the tackling. But I think this is where Trent Alexander-Arnold would fit in that pivot alongside McAllister. That's where I would see him fitting in under Amorim. Trent is a hard fit under Amorim because Amorim has never had a player of the same type as Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's never had a player of that ilk. And I believe that is the position he put him in, and he'd have legs around him, Bradley, quality in behind of Ibu Konate, and quality alongside in Van Dijk and McAllister to help sort of potentially cover any mishaps that Trent might have. And in big games especially, I would expect to see Trent move out wide and Conor Bradley be replaced by Wataru Endo. That's what I'd expect to see in big games. Trent will start to do shifts at right back, but he will mainly be played in this pivot here alongside Alexis McAllister. Now, the front three. I expect to see here the main man, the Egyptian king, Mohamed Salah. Mo Salah is who I'd expect to see here. The best attacker in the Premier League, no doubt in my mind. That if he stays, he's the guy. Up top, Amorim likes a big striker, likes a physical striker. Nunes will go there, and you probably see Diogo Jota as another option there. And then on the left, if you're going defensive, this is where you would see a Luis Diaz. If you're going to look to, in fact, no, if you're going attacking, that's probably where you'd see Diaz. Sorry, why did I say defensive? If you're going attacking, that's where you'd see Diaz. He'd want the directness of Diaz. He'd want the width of Diaz. If he's going to control the game more, if he wants to, make sure that we're better defensively, you would see Soboslai slot right in there. That's where Soboslai would go. And to be honest, this is probably the team or the mess up I would say most likely. This is really a toss-up. This depends on the opposition, to be honest. If he really needs to go wide, he'll go wide with Diaz. If he wants to be narrow, it'll be Soboslai. That is the only real toss-up position, which I can't give you a guarantee on who will play there. The rest, I feel pretty confident on saying that this is how Amorim would set up. And if you go back, or if you remember how I was saying that Sporting Lisbon play, imagine transitioning that, but instead of having Hajulmand play the defence splitting passes, you've got McAllister and Trent playing them, Van Dijk playing long direct ball over the top, Bradley being up and down the right, Ryan Aït-Nouri, I hope, up and down the left. At the left centre-back, Inacio, Van Dijk, Ibu Konate, bang! That back three there, and then pushing them two back defensively in defending the back five, that would be ridiculously strong defensively. And the opportunities that Sporting have conceded this season, because one thing that you do need to note, people, Sporting Lisbon have conceded 25 goals this season, which is decent, but it's not the greatest, and it's certainly not his best numbers. Do you want to know what their XG conceded is? 17. Their goalkeeper has let them down massively this season. Their goalkeepers have let them down massively this season. If you replace them with the best goalkeeper in the world, the biggest difference maker of a goalkeeper in the world in Alisson, the potential you could have defensively is ridiculous. And then attacking-wise, you would see what I believe this would form. You say you'd see McAllister probably there, Aït-Nouri there, Trent there, Konate there, Inacio there, Van Dijk there. You would see us box teams in like that. Salah would be right there, Trent forming that there. That in the attack would be ridiculous. It would be absolutely ridiculous. Just look at the attacking potential you've got there. If you go long, you can spread the play to the left wing back or the right wing back. You want to play through the middle, you've got incisive passing Trent, incisive passing McAllister, and you're getting your two best goal scorers, Darwin Núñez and Mo Salah, in the box. So they can get shots off. It is the perfect setup for Liverpool. And if it's Diaz, you would see him sitting a little bit wider. If it's Soboslai, you would see him sitting there, and you would almost end up. So imagine it like this, people. If it's Soboslai, you'd see this in build-up. Probably them two just slightly deeper like that. If it's Diaz in build-up, Salah goes there, Núñez goes there, Diaz goes there, McAllister moves wider, Trent moves wider. That is so strong. So strong. Imagine the potential that has. And then when you get them back on defence, Konate, Van Dijk, Inacio, Aït-Nouri, Bradley, solid brick wall, back five. Camp there. People are going to struggle to get through that at the best of times. Then, Trent, McAllister, Soboslai or Diaz, Salah, Núñez. Set up in that back five, ridiculously strong. There is a reason why I've been so desperate to have Ruben Amorim. This tactic, with the players that we have and the players we could bring in, has the potential to be ridiculous. It has the potential to suit everyone down to a T. And even this isn't including some of the best players. If you want me to right now, I'll make a list of the second 11 that he would play. This is the second 11. Let's say for some mental reason, every outfielder was injured or every outfielder couldn't play. You would end up seeing something along the lines of Kwanzaa, Gomez. You would see them two swap around most likely. The only one that I'm going to keep in there is Bradley. One of Bradley or Trent will play at right wing back, but we'll keep Bradley there for now. Here would remain a new signing because I do see us buying 2 centre backs in the summer. Left back, probably Kostas Tsimikas. DM, Bajcetic or Endo. Here, Jones or Gravenberch. Here, you would see Gakpo or Carvalho. Here, you'd see Jota or Danz. Here, you would see Elliott or Doak or maybe even a new signing. That would be his team if he could not play any of our best 11 players. Best 12, sorry. Our best 12 players, if he couldn't play any of them, that would be his team. That team is still very, very strong. And in this, there will never, or should we say barely ever, be a situation where he has to play 11 non-starters. Never. I'll say never. So that is the quality that he has. That is the quality at the disposal. That is how it would fit together as a team. It just has so much potential. So much potential. And yet, some names in the chat, Tyler Morton could have a future. Owen Beck could have a future. Because one of the big things that Ruben Amorim does is he trusts in his youth. He develops his youth. I'm going to go back to my list. People might laugh at the list, but it has all the details I need on there. Because I don't like to forget things when it comes to Amorim. Because the achievements that he's done and everything that needs to be said, I need it written down. Some of the youth players that he's developed. Nuno Mendes, Pedro Gonçalves, Gonçalo Inacio, Marcus Edwards, Mateus Nunes, Pedro Porro, João Palhinha, Mamadou Ugarte, Ousmane Diomande, Morten Hajulmand, Victor Gyökeres, Eduardo Quaresma, and Galeno. That's just the big ones. Off the top of my head. There's going to be some, I reckon if he had another year or two at Sporting, Jenny Catano. Remember the name Jenny Catano. I've watched him this season. He's been so impressive at right wing back. And he was a winger going into the season. But Amorim has developed them there. Galeno was at Braga. So what people don't know about Ruben Amorim didn't come through at Sporting. Ruben Amorim came from Braga. And when he came through at Braga, he only actually managed 13 games. He managed 13 games at Braga before being sold for £10 million as a manager. In those 13 games, Ruben Amorim won 10, drew 1, and lost 2. Both his losses were in the Europa League against Rangers. His draw was against a mid-table side, and his wins were against the likes of Porto, Sporting, and Benfica. He beat the big three 5 times in 10 games, and one of them was to win Braga a trophy. Within his first 10 games of management, Ruben Amorim won a trophy. In his first 10 games in management. Let that sink in. This is not some flash in the pan. You are special if you can win a trophy in your first 10 games in management. And he didn't even do it with a Porto. He didn't even do it with a Benfica. He didn't even do it with Sporting. He done it with Braga. Not one of the big ones. He went into Braga, who had just sacked their manager, and within 10 games had a cup won, done, dusted, finito. This is what Amorim is. He moves to Sporting Lisbon. Do you want to know what he done in his first season? His first full season? It wasn't. He didn't do much, He only done a league and cup double. He only done a league and cup double in his very first season. In his very first season, he done a league and cup double. And not only that, he, in that period of time, broke the Portuguese record for the longest unbeaten run. We've seen Xabi Alonso this season have a fantastic season. I will never discredit what Alonso's done. He's currently 39 games unbeaten. Massive, massive credit to him. Ruben Amorim broke the Portuguese domestic record and went 32 games unbeaten with Sporting. 32 in his first full season with the side that was expected to finish fourth. He won the title. He won Sporting's first title in 19 years in his very first season. And if I pull up the table from that season, Liga Portugal 20/21 table, I just want to make sure that I'm correct. I am correct. You know what? Do you want to know how many games Ruben Amorim lost in the league in his very first season as a Sporting manager? 1. Uno. He lost one game, and it was after he'd won the title. He lost one game, and it was after he won the title. He was one game away from going invincible with a team that the year beforehand had finished fourth. It had finished fourth the year beforehand, and it went on to win a title because of that man, Ruben Amorim. And it wasn't like he spent a bucket load of money. He did not spend a bucket load of money. Do you want to know how much Ruben Amorim spent in that very first season as Sporting manager? Because I will tell you how much he spent in his very first season as Sporting Lisbon manager. In his very first season as Sporting Lisbon manager, he spent a grand total of 42 million euros. 42 million euros. Sounds like a lot of money, Portuguese, 42 million. You had Paulinho in there, Pedro Gonçalves in there, Bruno Tabata in there, Vidal in there, Nuno Santos in there, Antonio Adan, João Mario, Pedro Porro, Mateus Reis. Do you want to know his net spend for that season? Plus 10 million. He made 50 million of sales. He won the league with a positive net spend. He won the league with a positive net spend against Benfica and Porto. Do you understand how mental that is? I've seen people compare him to Villas-Boas. Villas-Boas never had the hardships that Amorim's had. Villas-Boas had Radamel Falcao. Villas-Boas had James Rodriguez. Villas-Boas had João Moutinho, Hulk, Alexandro, Otamendi, Freddy Guarín, Danilo. They were all the players he had. He was expected to win that league. Amorim had players, like, are you ready for this? I will find you his squad from that 2020-2021 season. See how many of these players you know. See how many of these players you think should have been winning titles with him. You ready? Luis Maximiano, Sebastian Cortés, a 19-year-old Inacio, Fedal, Luis Neto, Nuno Mendes in his very first professional season, Christian Borja, Mateus Reis, Antunes, Pedro Porro, João Pereira, João Palhinha, Rodrigo Fernandes, Dario Esugo, Wendell, João Mario, Mateus Nunes, Daniel Braganca, Mateus, Nuno Santos, Jovan Cabral, Pedro Gonçalves, Bruno Tabata, Gonzalo Plata, Thiago Tomas, Luciano Vieto, Andras Sporar, Luis Felipe, Pedro Marquez, and Paulinho. Half of them are playing in the second division in some random countries. And he won the league. His second season, he didn't win the league. And people like to crash it on him here. Oh, he didn't go back to back. He didn't. He lost out by 6 points to Porto. Yep. He lost out by 6 points. Porto ended on 91. Sporting ended on 85. Sporting had arguably a better season, or at least a similar season, to the one they had beforehand, to the one they had beforehand. They got 85 points before, they've got 85 points after, but Porto just got over the line that time. But Sporting didn't leave empty-handed. Amorim did not leave empty-handed. Amorim doesn't do that. Amorim does not leave empty-handed. That season where they didn't win the title, they just went and won another cup. So if you're keeping count, people, if you're keeping counts, that means Ruben Amorim won back-to-back domestic cups with Sporting. And for him personally, that's back-to-back-to-back. Back-to-back-to-back. I'll repeat that again. Back-to-back-to-back. Three of them. With Braga and with Sporting. None with Porto. None with Benfica. It was with Sporting and it was with Braga. Last season was his worst season. I don't like to beat around the bush here. Last season was his worst season. He finished fourth. He had a really bad time. Joao Palhinha was sold. Mateus Nunes was sold. And they didn't replace them. They did not replace them. They were relying on Manuel Ugarte to really develop, which he ended up doing, but just took a little bit of time. Marita needed a little bit of time to adapt. And because of the situation in the midfield, Pedro Gonçalves, who was the best attacker in that Sporting team, was putting up ridiculous numbers, always has been putting up ridiculous numbers for Ruben Amorim. He then had to move into that pivot, which I was showing earlier. He had to move into that pivot, be a little bit more defensive, and Sporting often playing a front three of Trincao, Edwards, and Paulinho. Now, they're all good footballers in their own right. Paulinho was a very hit-and-miss striker. Sometimes he's really on it, sometimes he's off it. Marcus Edwards and Trincao don't score a lot of goals. They're not clinical finishers. Sporting last season just couldn't finish. That was their big problem. They could not finish. And Amorim said, I'll resign. Amorim said, look, we haven't won anything. You might want to go a different direction. I'll resign. The Sporting board, the Sporting owner said, you are one of the best managers in the world. We don't want to lose you. We do not want to lose you. We will back you. The big thing was, we will back you. So what did they do? They went out and broke their transfer record for Victor Gyökeres. They went out and Hajulman, Ivan Fresneda, big players that they bought. And where are they in the league this year? They're only top of the league. That's right. Sporting Lisbon are top of the league by a point, but they have a game in hand. And not only that, people, they play second in the league, Benfica, on the weekend at home. Now, if you don't know, last time they played Benfica at home, they won. Last time they played Benfica, they drew, which was today. They're unbeaten in their last two against Benfica. Early this season, they did lose to Benfica. That is one of their two losses in the league this year, Benfica away. But that doesn't tell the story of the game. The story of the game was Sporting Lisbon were ahead until the 95th minute. They've been down to 10 men since the 47th. They were ahead in the 95th. And then they conceded the corner. And then they conceded another corner in the 100th minute. It was really unlucky, all things considered, because they held out for so long with 10 men. They're going for revenge. They're going for revenge this weekend. And with everything as it is, Sporting Lisbon could have this title wrapped up very soon. If they beat Benfica, they go 4 points clear. They win their game in hand, they are 7 points clear. 7 points clear at the top of the league. Sporting Lisbon could end this season with, if I do my math correctly, got 8 more games. That is 24 more points. That would be 92. Sporting Lisbon could end this season on 92. Most likely, they're going to end on, I would say, 85, 86, maybe 87. That would be a new point record for them. In what I believe will be his final season, Sporting Lisbon could win the title with a new points record under Amorim. And not only that, as I said earlier, they played in the Cup today. And they're through to the final of the Cup. They will play one of Vitória Guimarães or Porto. What that means, is Ruben Amorim could end this season with a double. What he'd done in his first season, he could do in his last. Let me repeat. What he'd done in his first season, he could do in his last. He could end this season with 6 trophies in 5 years. I'll say 5 years. 5 years of management. 6 trophies in 5 years of management. Mind blowing. Mind blowing. Now, concerns. Why might he not want to join us? I look at this. His time at Sporting is done. A lot of the people are moving on. Hugo Viana, the director of football, he might be taking on a new project. I could see Victor Gyökeres being sold this summer. Pedro Gonçalves, Ignacio, Ousmane Diomande. This seems like the parting of ways for a lot of the Sporting squad, and it only seems right that the manager, who's been there for 4 years, also moves on. Now, which clubs are in for him? We are in for him. He's 39, by the way, Ravi. Ruben Amorim is 39, 3 years younger than Alonso, and more experienced than Alonso. Everyone could be moving on this summer, and it only makes sense then that the manager moves on as well. Now, we're one of the options. We are obviously, the downside to us is you're replacing Jurgen Klopp, who has been the most transformative manager for this football club in the Premier League era. 100% he has. What that man has done for Liverpool Football Club will never be understated. He deserves a stand named after him. That's how impactful he's been at this football club. Who else is there? Barcelona. Barcelona have been linked today. Miguel Delaney. Miguel Delaney was the guy who done it. He said he released an article today going that Barcelona are trying to attract Ruben Amorim, but as it stands, from what I know, Barcelona's main priority is to get Xavi to stay. If not Xavi, then Nagelsmann. If not Nagelsmann, then Amorim. Amorim's third choice. I believe that the project and the stature and the security at Liverpool is better for him at this point in his career than it is at Barca. I'm not someone who doesn't understand the Barcelona pull. I understand the Barcelona pull. I've lost too many players like that man there and Coutinho and Mascherano to understand the Barcelona pull. But I also understand this isn't the same Barcelona. This Barcelona is a mess. It's a mess for any manager to walk into. The squad is so polarised in terms of ages. Amorim's style of football doesn't necessarily fit what Barcelona fans love in terms of style of football. It's a little bit direct, a little bit pragmatic. Barcelona like this free-flowing tiki-taka football. I just don't see a world where Amorim picks Barcelona. I've got to be honest. So then who does that leave? Bayern Munich. They're after a manager. But they seem to be desperate on De Zerbi. Okay. So that probably rules Bayern out the running. Manchester United could be after a new manager. Erik Ten Hag could be on the chopping block. But then we look at the new ownership. I don't believe that Sir Jim Ratcliffe would have Ruben Amorim as one of the targets that he's after. I believe Sir Jim Ratcliffe has a set idea of what he wants. And to be honest, I'd probably see Erik Ten Hag potentially getting another year anyway. I don't believe United will be entering the manager market this summer. Chelsea, the other one. Now, if we are on about Chelsea, I laugh at anyone who says Amorim picks us over them. Ruben Amorim's a smart man. Ruben Amorim understands what needs to be done as a manager. He understands that. What needs to be done? He needs a stable environment to work in. He needs ownership who are reliable and trustworthy, and everyone can agree on the project. The Chelsea board don't know what project they're doing. The Chelsea players don't know what project they're doing. There is no wiggle room in terms of financials. Ruben Amorim would be going into a squad and being told, work with it. That is not the environment for him to go to, especially after the success he's had at Sporting, to settle for another long job like that. Everything in my eyes points to Liverpool being the logical next step. And I believed that the moment Michael Edwards was appointed back by FSG, and he appointed his friend, Richard Hughes, and then we appointed the Benfica fella, Pedro Marquez, everything in my mind pointed to Ruben Amorim being the choice, because Amorim's data, the analytics behind Amorim's teams are perfect for what Liverpool wants. Absolutely perfect, down to a T for what Liverpool wants out of a manager. Ruben Amorim is the perfect guy for that. No doubt in my mind. So, people, first off, big ups my guy King Winter Soldier for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate the support very, very much, mate. I'm going to give you, we'll do 10 to 15 minutes. Any questions? Any questions you have about Amorim? What plays does he like? What type of person is he as a manager? Any questions you have about Amorim, how he'd fit at Liverpool, any concerns, any queries, anything like that, throw them in the comments or give me a super chat if you'd like, show your support. Anything like that, we'll answer them for 10, 15 minutes. Let's go. And before you do that, listen to my guy, Realism Jared here. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you are sharing the content as well. Let me just have a little look at the likes real quick. Let me just have a look at the likes real quick. We are seeing, thank you. We are seeing 100 likes, people. 100. Thank you all very much for the support. If we can try and get to 125 before the end of the stream, that would be much, much, much appreciated. I appreciate the support, especially late at night. So I have 160 people in here. Mental. So, people compare Amorim's style of football to Mourinho's. Will it work? When people compare it to Mourinho's, they need to understand what Mourinho they're comparing it to. The style and the philosophy is close to the successful Mourinho. Not the Mourinho, the bitter old Mourinho. The Mourinho of the days of Inter, of Real, of Chelsea. That one. It has similarities to that. Ruben Amorim has always maintained that his managerial idol is Jose Mourinho. To me, that just points to the fact that there will be stuff that he's taken, stuff that he will implement from Jose. But when you look at the way his teams play, this isn't the bitter old Jose who sets up to park the bus and win 1-0. Because his team's Amorim this season's won 8-0, 7-1, 6-1, 6-0. They score a lot of goals. This isn't like the bitter old Jose. He takes the best elements of Jose. The only argument I hear against Amorim is the Portuguese league. So that I'll always say this. I will always say this. If the Portuguese league is so bad, why do all the top clubs buy from there? Darwin Núñez came from the Portuguese league. He's been pretty good. Luis Diaz came from the Portuguese league. He's been pretty good. A lot of good players have come from the Portuguese league. We've had a relatively good amount of success from shopping in the Portuguese league. The only real good I can think of is Lazar Markovic. That's the only real one. Apart from that, we've been relatively successful in the Portuguese league, so I don't see why it's such a negative thing. Am I wearing this year's alternative jersey? I'm wearing the one that inspired it, the original 1995 kit. Does Amorim like to rotate a lot? Ruben Amorim uses a squad. He doesn't rotate, per se, in that sense where it's like he has a lineup A and a lineup B. He knows what players can fit where. There's a good amount of rotation in terms of players will get adequate rest. Players will start some games, players won't. One of the big things he does and why he's such a good manager, even the experienced pros, even the players who you would expect to be his main guys, they don't know if they're necessarily guaranteed to start. Keeps the levels high, keeps the energy levels high. It's perfect management, really. How does he play against the low block? If I pull my tactics board up again, low blocks are where Amorim realises he's got to dominate possession. I'm just going to use the Liverpool version for an example. When up against the low block, you will see Sporting or Amorim's teams form a 3-1-6 in build-up. Very much committed like this because the thing with a low block is you have to hit them quick on the counter. So the only way out of this situation in a low block, especially with the high press that they have, where it's bang, or it's bang, or it's bang, straight out to them if they lose the ball. The only way out is there into the wide channels. That's why the centre-backs he has in Ousmane Diomande and Inacio, and at Liverpool, Gomez, Canate, whoever he signed on the left, they're quick. They can get out to them areas. Against the low block, it will be very much focused on getting the wing-backs either crossing from deep to the big man or having intricate little plays here where inside there, he makes the run. It either goes back through so he can run to it and fire it across, or he goes there, he's the dummy run, he takes it inside, he either feeds it in, puts a cross into the back post, has a shot, or it keeps getting recycled there. Again, Ruben Amorim doesn't really have an issue against low blocks. He doesn't. I'd say the type of style that's caused Amorim the most problems is probably a team that is effective in a mid-block because his press can get a little bit bypassed then. That's probably the team that he struggles most against because of a 2-man against a 3-man or a 4-man. Sometimes in an effective mid-block where they're confident playing out from the back, his teams can be a little bit exposed, but he'll then often make adjustments. So the attackers how I was describing, a Gonçalves or a Soboslai in this case, would drop in. You'd see a 3-man midfield form, or sometimes he'd move to a 2 up top. He's very tactically fluid when he wants to be. Michael Edwards would want him. He won't want a manager that wants money for players. Amorim will work under restrictions. That's one of the big things. How high a line do you think Ruben will play? Ruben will play a high line that's needed. So the thing with the high line, people, is a high line is only as high as you need it to be. Liverpool's high line is where it is because we like to pen teams in, and we have the pace there. Amorim will probably have his high line a little bit deeper than that, but not mid-block, low-block levels. It will still be high, especially when we're on the ball. What mistakes did he make to get eliminated from the Europa League? Now, this is a big thing that gets thrown at him, is European record. And this is fine. This is fine, 100%. This year especially, he was I'm not going to say victim, because part of it is his own doing. He could have taken the risks. He had to play Benfica in the first leg of the Cup 2 or 3 days before the first leg in the Europa League, and he played all the starts in that game, and it was a tight game. It was a tense game. And before the first leg, some players were struggling for fitness, so he went for a very rotated team. They drew 1-1 at home. And he done that on the basis that we'll go away from home, we'll play the strong 11, we'll hit them on the counter-attack. And for the first 35 minutes, it worked to a T. Atalanta didn't really get chances. Sporting were effective on the counter-attack, and they scored through Pedro Gonçalves. And then Pedro Gonçalves had to go off injured. And Sporting all of a sudden lost their counter-attacking threat. And Sporting ultimately then didn't have a shot on target for about 60 minutes. And that is sometimes, Gyökeres and Paulinho couldn't hold up the ball. It wasn't Marcus Edwards, it was actually Trincao. Couldn't get involved in the game. The wing-backs were getting cut off. Atalanta's mid-block was very well set up, so Sporting couldn't play through the middle. And ultimately, for the next 50 minutes, Sporting were a little bit outclassed. And Amorim was a little bit outclassed at points. And then he figured out the problem. And for the last 20 minutes, Sporting were all over Atalanta. But Gyökeres missed a big chance. Paulinho missed a big chance. And Coates missed a big chance. Sporting on another day win that game. And if you go look at the XG and stuff, Sporting won on XG and stuff. Again, it's just Franco, especially in that Atalanta tie, especially, I've said it all season, I will say it again. Franco Israel has cost Sporting Lisbon more than you believe. Go look at the first leg and look at the goal they conceded. It's all his fault. Go look at the second leg and the goals they conceded. He's got to be saving them. Stuff like that is where I think the difference will come in when you get to work with world-class players. Especially, I can't state how much Alisson will be a big difference maker for him. Amorim will always set up defensively in Europe. That's the one thing I have noticed. When in Europe, Amorim sets up pragmatically. He sets up to counter. He sets up to be defensively solid. He sets up to win knockout games as knockout games. Win 1-0, win 2-1 sort of thing. With a team like Sporting, that doesn't necessarily work all the time because the quality isn't as high as other teams. But every time he's been knocked out of the Europa League, i.e. Juventus and Atalanta, they've won the tie on XG. They just haven't finished their chances, and they've been caught out through goalkeeping mistakes or defensive mistakes. So I don't think it's as big a concern as people make out. Is he Klopp? No, but he's the next best thing. No one will ever be Jurgen Klopp, and I don't think that. I'm not bringing in Amorim because he's got similarities to Klopp. I'm bringing in Amorim because for me, he's the perfect Liverpool manager, and I want him to be Amorim. I don't want him to be Klopp 2.0. I want Ruben Amorim to be Ruben Amorim. Tom, thoughts on Ruben Amorim's man management style? Ruben Amorim's man management style is up there, one of the very best in Europe. One of the very best in Europe. Every single player waxes lyrical about him and how good he is. He doesn't like to push it on players, especially when they make mistakes. He always takes a fair share of the blame, so that the media aren't handling the players. He shows a lot of that. He keeps them all very happy. The rotation's there, so all the fringe players and the squad players get their game time as well. The only player who's got a bad thing to say about him was Islam Slimani. And where's Islam Slimani now, eh? He's a fantastic man manager. If the Sporting coach comes to Liverpool, what players should he sell? Now, ultimately, I don't believe that Amorim will have a say on who's getting sold. I believe it'll be down to Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, but I could see Andy Robertson being moved on. There's a world where potentially Luis Diaz is moved on, and then we look at buying someone else like a Lois Openda to fill that role. Potentially a midfielder could be moved on as well, although I don't necessarily know who. Like Thiago will definitely go, Matip will definitely go, but I don't expect to see wholesale change in the squad, to be honest, especially in the first season. He'll have that first season, figure out the squad, figure out who works, figure out who doesn't, and then you'll see the gradual drip feed of Amorim's transfer targets come through the door. Amorim with Torres as an assistant. Torres is doing his own thing. He's doing very well with the Atletico kids. And Amorim's coaching staff, they're young like him as well. They're young like him. What do you predict his first season with Liverpool will be like if he's coming? My expectations would be to ensure that we remain in the top 4 and to show me that you can compete in the Champions League. Like, get either go out to a good team in the quarters or get to the semi-final sort of thing. What I think he could achieve is winning trophies. I really do. That's how big I think he is. Will it be a Premier League? I don't know. But I believe Amorim could end this first season with at least one medal in the cabinet. And for the first season as a manager, that is all very impressive. I think Andy Robertson's the best left wing back option than I normally thought. Andy Robertson's numbers are declining. That's the thing that sticks with me about that. Andy Robertson's numbers overall are declining. He's not the same Andy Robertson that he was. You're starting to see more injuries get picked up. I just think that Michael Edwards could look at all that and go, it's time to move him on while his value is still high. What makes you think Amorim can compete with Pep Guardiola, if not have the upper hand on him? Because Ruben Amorim doesn't play Pep Guardiola football. I will always say this about Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta especially as well now, because both of them do the same thing. If you try and out-possession, if you try and tiki-taka Pep or now Mikel, you ain't winning because they're better at it than you. You have to come at it with something different. You have to. And Amorim does. And that's the difference. That's the difference. When he gets to work with better players, when he gets to instill his ideas, I think you could really see him compete at that top level. He's competing with teams better than him already. He can do it at Liverpool. No doubt in my mind. Does Núñez score 40 goals under Amorim? I don't know if he's ever going to be a 40-goal striker, Núñez. But I think Amorim puts him in a position where he can score a lot of goals. 100%. Do I think he could bring in a new striker? I'd be very shocked, to be honest. You've got Jota, you've got Núñez already. You've got Jadon Danns as well, who's a fantastic option. Cody Gakpo can fill in that spot as well if he wants to be a little bit more of a defensive striker. I would be shocked if a striker was brought in, but I would love it if he got Gyökeres. I'm just going to say, people, a Gyökeres, Núñez, Salah front three would destroy the league. It would absolutely destroy the league. If we win the league and Amorim comes in, do you think we win the league next year? I'm not expecting to, but I can't rule it out because he's done it before. Mourinho was all about defence, park the bus and count. The Mourinho that we knew, the Mourinho that came in, the Mourinho that had the arrogance, the special one Mourinho was never that. He was pragmatic, but he would dominate teams sometimes. When the game called for it, he could be possession oriented, but he knew when to counter. That's the difference. He wasn't defence, park the bus and that. Because there were games which he would absolutely destroy teams. Listens to Just to Bang as well, like for Ruben Amorim. If I've not sold on Amorim yet, what more do I have to do? Which players do you think will suffer from the new system of Amorim? I've done the sold one. Who could suffer? Gakpo, I don't really see a spot for. Gravenberch is another one I don't really see the most natural fit for, based on what I've seen so far this season. Robertson, probably, because it's just so high octane. And Diaz is another one. And Trent, I will say this, Trent doesn't have a natural fit per se. I've put him in at DM because I think he could do a job there. But he doesn't have a natural fit per se. What key aspect made you choose Amorim over Alonso before Alonso announced he was staying? I have 5 things that I want from a Liverpool manager. You need to win, which Amorim does. You need to be good at working under budgetary restrictions, which Amorim is. You need to be good at developing young players, which Amorim is. You need to be my nose. I've got it all written down here. What am I doing, man? I literally have it on my list here. So winning, you need to be a winner. You need to be working under budget restrictions. You need to be incredible at developing youngsters. You need to fit the tactical fit that I want as a Liverpool manager, which is high octane, high pressing, not tippy tappy football. And you need to be very charismatic. And that's what Ruben Amorim is. He's such a good manager. There's a reason my Sporting fans look forward to his press conferences every week because they're so entertaining. Could Carvalho have a future with Amorim at Liverpool? 100%. Carvalho is the type of player that Amorim would love to work with. How is he with the fans? They all love him. And I don't think that would ever be a problem at Liverpool because he gets what the fans are. Sporting is a working class club. Liverpool's a working class club. By the way, do you think if he comes and succeeds, he'll use it as a step up for Real Madrid or Barca? If yes, need someone committed. Ultimately, Tucker, most managers would leave if Real Madrid or Barca offered them the job. We say this like Xabi Alonso wasn't the favourite, but we all know Xabi Alonso would jump at the opportunity to manage Real Madrid. Ultimately, I believe Amorim could stay at Liverpool for long term. I don't doubt that, but I can never rule out a Real Madrid coming in that sense. If he's appointed in the sun, which signings how many do you think he'll make? The signings that he'll make, I don't know, because it's not really in his hands. He gets to pick the type of players he wants, but he doesn't get to pick the players per se. But I could definitely see a new left back, a new centre back, maybe a DM, and maybe a forward. What else have we got? What else have we got? Tom, you can still develop young players in poor leagues. You can, but if you can develop them to be impactful at top teams already, that's different. Nuno Mendes is loved by the PSG fans. Joao Palhinha is one of the best DMs in the Premier League. Mateus Nunes had a decent season for Wolves last year. The players that he's got at the minute, they will move on as well. Good players in the Portuguese league. You had Ronaldo, Nani, Bruno Fernandes, Pepe, Iker Casillas. The Portuguese league's had some incredible talents. I heard he's tactically stubborn. Tactically stubborn is a term I don't like because people see tactically stubborn as sticking with a system. If that system works, it works. It might just take a little bit of time to grow into the game. Jurgen Klopp is tactically stubborn, but he wins a lot of football matches. Pep Guardiola is tactically stubborn, but he wins a lot of football matches. All great managers are in a sense, tactically stubborn. Amorim can change if he needs to. The thing is, Amorim knows when to change. He knows how to make adjustments, even today. So if you didn't watch today, Sporting Lisbon was struggling a little bit in the first half. They went 1-0 up. No, they didn't. It was actually 0-0, but they should have went 1-0 down, sorry. And Ruben Amorim made 3 changes. He took off his wing backs and brought on quicker ones, but more defensively solid ones. So Nuno Santos went off and Ricardo Esgaio went off. And he brought on Jenny Catano and Mateus Reis. And he also brought on Jerry St. Just. All 3 of them are pacey. So Benfica were getting a lot of joy in the channels by playing long balls over the top. Diamande went off because he played a lot of football recently and he was blown a little bit. As Guy was a bit slow, so he came off. And Nuno Santos is not as defensively sound as you'd like on that side. And Inacio wasn't having the greatest of games. So Mateus Reis came on, Jenny Catano came on, and Jenny St. Just came on, and Sporting Lisbon scored within 2 minutes because Jenny Catano uses pace, and Jenny St. Just had defended an attack, and Mateus Reis had stopped an attack by Angel Di Maria on the other side. All the subs played a key role in that goal. He knows when to change. He's not tactically stubborn. He's a good man manager like that. Big ups my guy, Honestly Hortensia. Liverpool leading the race for Ruben Amorim and negotiations taking place according to Pedro M. Sepulveda. Apparently, FSG want the deal done quick. That I didn't doubt. Does Amorim play with a DM in a 3-4-3 system? Yes and no. It can be a DM. So if he got the player for it, it will be DM. So like Palhinha was there, and Hujuman is in it. But I feel like if he comes into a better team, you'll see him be a little bit more adventurous with it and have it be more of a deeper line playmaker rather than a DM sort of thing. We shouldn't attack all the time, though. Only when we need to score or get a comfy cushion lead. The rest of the game should sit back and defend. Amorim knows how to control games when he needs to. Tom, his European record isn't good. He's lost a lot of games in Europe against poor sides like Rangers. I wasn't impressed against Atalanta. The thing is, though, you can look at this and go, yeah, he's had poor results against Rangers at Braga, and Atalanta he maybe should have got a slightly better result in. But then he beat Arsenal last year, and he beat Tottenham the year before that, and he beat Dortmund the year before that. He's got a good record. His record in Europe isn't the best, but it's not terrible. And you've got to factor in the team he's got. Ruben Amorim actually led Sporting Lisbon to their furthest ever achievements in the Champions League with the round of 16. Sporting Lisbon don't have European heritage like that. They're not a Porto, they're not a Benfica in that sense. They don't have European heritage like that. Reaching the round of 16 in the Champions League was historical for them. It was historical for them. And yes, he's been unlucky, I believe, in the Europa League as well. What else? What else? Big ups to them, Tom Izzy. Sepp van den Berg has been one of the Bundesliga's best centre backs. You reckon Amorim keeps him in development or sells him at a good fee by Edwards next season? The thing is, and I don't think many people know this, Mainz have an option to buy, so we might lose him for cheap anyway. And I think that's probably one of the bigger cock-ups, should we say, that we've had, because Mainz are a good team. They're a good team, but they're not this world beater side. And losing a player like Sepp van den Berg, who's always had this high potential, that's a bit of a blow, especially all things considered. So I could see Mainz activating that option. Who did they win 2-1 3 to 4 days ago? Estoril, Almeida. They're like a mid-table team, but the goal they conceded was horrendous goalkeeping by Franco Israel. I'm telling you, man, go watch Sporting highlights. Go watch the goals they concede. Look at the goalkeeper, and then imagine Allison or even Kelleher in there. They don't concede half them. To be fair, very fair. Praise the head his charisma and man management. Yeah, he's fantastic at that. Will 3-4-3 work for us? I think it will 100%. I don't want to see any pragmatic football. I will want out ASAP. Well, yeah, and Klopp's played pragmatically at times. People need to understand what pragmatic is. It's not negative. It's being defensively sound first. There's always the option for the counter attack. Liverpool being pragmatic under Klopp. Luis Diaz shares the same age as Amorim. He isn't selling Diaz. Ultimately, I don't think Amorim has much say in it. Didn't Amorim lose 5-0 to Man City in the round of 16 like 2 years ago? Yes. Let's bear in mind it was Man City. And he is Sporting Lisbon. And then he drew the second game. And probably should have won it. But yes, he did lose 5-0 in the first 2 years ago. It is what it is. Tommy mentioned once he threw his players under the bus after the game. No, this is the thing. City, he doesn't. He takes the blame. If the media want to throw... So there was a game... Who was it? Paulinho and Trincao. Paulinho and Trincao last year should have scored about 5 between them and didn't score 1. And Sport went on to lose the game. And Amorim took the blame himself. Amorim put the blame on him. And the next game, Trincao and Paulinho scored. And they were playing without any pressure on them. They were playing without any worry. He's a fantastic man manager at that sort of thing. Hey Tom, Sabo, Nunes, Salah is the most likely front three next year. How do you think Gakpo, Jota, and Diaz will fit into the Amorim system? Just because I think it's the most likely one doesn't mean it's the one that will be used most often. Amorim will rotate a lot. The one thing I will say is Amorim's got 5 main attackers this year. All of them have played a lot of minutes. He knows how to rotate. Don't worry about that. When did you first want the Sporting coach and did you rate before Klopp announced he believe? I've been on the Sporting coach since last year. I've been on Amorim since last year. If you know, you know, people. If you know, you know. What about by world class right back and Trent to midfield? The thing is with Amorim, he puts a lot of faith in youth. So the likes of Kwanzaa, the likes of Bajcetic, the likes of Bradley, they'll benefit massively from Amorim. They'll get a lot of opportunities under Amorim. Even Elliott, Curtis Jones, all them, they will play a lot of football. This isn't just a case where you just buy world class in every position and kill off the youngsters. A big reason why I want Amorim is because we've got such a good young core coming through. I want them to get their opportunities. I want them to get the game time. Does he play with wings or 2-10s? He can do either. If he wants to be a little bit more defensive, he can set up with 2-10s and form a box midfield and retain the ball. More often than not, though, you can see him try and go with 1 winger, 1-10, or maybe 2 wingers. But he can do it all, sort of thing. Barca trying to steal the Amorim deal. No guarantee we get him. I hope we win the league and Europa Cup season of the year. I don't think Amorim chooses Barca over. I don't think Barca are going to get him over us anyway, but I don't think Amorim would choose Barca over us. You've got to compare the situations the clubs are in. Where would Salah play in his system? Would he be as effective in his current 4-3-3 lineup? I think Salah in Amorim's system would be effectively turns a slightly more of a goal scorer. There'd be a little bit less running, but more of a goal scoring instinct. You could see him put up numbers closer to what he'd done in his very first season when you're getting 30 goals. The Mourinho Madrid teams were some incredible teams. Amorim is a bit pragmatic guy, he doesn't play attacking football the way we used to under Klopp. Again, though, he averages 3 goals a game. He's won 8-0, 7-1, 6-1, 6-0. You don't do that if you're negative. It's just people look at the big games he's had, and because he's always been the underdog and then he sets up pragmatically, you wouldn't want us to go to the Etihad and play expansive free-flowing football because you're going to get killed. When the time calls for it, he's pragmatic. When the time calls for it, he's attacking. He's smart like that. Does he speak English? Yes, he does. You think Man United could try and steal them from him? Again, I don't think he picks United over us. Amorim will definitely find a spot up for Trent. I hope so. I'd love for Trent to stay. We have an emotional club. Do we have an emotional manager to be successful? Amorim is perfect for that kind of thing. 100%. He's perfect for that kind of thing. How much has Amorim paid you? Nothing. I wish he would though, because I've sold him very well. Does Tyler Morton have a future? I think so. I just think he probably has another loan, probably to a Prem club. Klopp this season makes a lot of changes at half time. Klopp this season has been his most interesting in terms of in-game changes. Amorim's like that normally anyway. How do you think Amorim would line up if we didn't make any signs, and how would he line up if we've got some of the signs recommended? If we didn't get any of the signs, you'd see probably Gomez at left centre-back and Robertson at left wing-back. His system will reduce injuries now. Maybe. Look, injuries are a hard thing to pick to say will reduce it sort of thing. You just got to play it by ear. Can Alisson play till his 40s like Buffon? 100%. Tom, do you see Ramsey staying if Ruben comes? Ramsey needs loans. He needs a lot of loans because he's just not fit at the minute. How often do his players get injured? Not really. It's not like the thing is with injury again. You can't really predict them. Like he doesn't have major injury crises. If you're after that, but he's lost some players to injury this season. But he always adapts. On Sky Sports, a Portuguese journalist was saying Amorim will only want the players he wants, not who Edwards wants, kind of like Klopp. Amorim will say the profile of player he wants. He will give his recommendations. Ultimately, we're going to have the transfer committee that we've had the whole time. But Amorim wouldn't take the job. Amorim wouldn't be this far into negotiations if he didn't understand how the football club was going to work. And ultimately, he's not going to have the be-all end-all say, we're not doing that type of thing. You wouldn't have a director of football like that. And ultimately, he doesn't operate like that necessarily in Portugal. You might have more of a say, but he's not the be-all end-all. How good is Amorim defending set pieces? They don't really get scored on, pardon. They're good defensively altogether. It's not really a problem. I've always rated Trey Naoni from the academy, probably my favourite youth prospect Liverpool has right now. If you know much about him, how do you think he can fit into an Amorim system? It'll be years away from that, to be honest, but he would be in the McAllister type role. Question, Tom, how would Amorim get the best out of Jota? He'd allow him to get into the box. He'd use his hold-up play, which has improved a lot this season, but he'd allow him to get into the box more. Some those scores and goals are against League 2 style teams, though, Tom. They're not. Why are we acting like the Portuguese league, the 5th best league in the world, has shit teams in mid-table? They don't. Are they, the standard of Bournemouth? No. But they're not the standard of Accrington Stanley or Tranmere. They're probably top-end championship. Maybe touching mid-table championship. They're not that bad. We need a proven manager, not an experiment. I disagree. And I don't know how Amorim is necessarily an experiment like that. This isn't like some young manager who's just done his first season. This is a man who's done 5 years. Potentially won 2 leagues and 4 cups. It's not much of an experiment when you know it works. Isn't it past your bedtime? To be fair, I do want to go to sleep. I'm goosed, man. I've been up since very early. Do I see a world where we play 3-5-2? Occasionally. It won't be the main formation, but occasionally. If we get a silly offer from Mo, do you think he would want to sell, start building his own team with us? If you get silly money from Mo, I think he might move on this summer, especially if he doesn't want to sign a new contract. But it's hard to say. He'll fit Salah in if he's got him, and he'd build around Salah if he's got him. If he doesn't have him, he'll adapt. That's something I'm very good at. Will Joe Gomez plays a centre back? Yep. Would you take Hajulman, the one who scored the banging state? I love Hajulman. I think he's so good. Every single sporting game I watch, he's running the show. He's so talented. Will he work in the Premier League with the players that we've got? Depends on. It's so tough. I'd love him, but I don't know where he fits in, especially if Trent's playing DM. That's the one thing. Will he play players out of position on weird formations like Pep? Probably not. No. Bring me Ange. Interesting. I mean, they didn't play that well today. He's not managed the top 4 league again, though. I would rather have the 5 years of management in the Europa League and the Champions League and the Portuguese League than a year and a half in the Bundesliga and 2 years in the Spanish second division. Ultimately, I believe the Portuguese League isn't that bad. A lot of really good players come from the Portuguese League. Why would we not want the managers that have helped develop them? How does Amorim get Nunes and Diaz to convert more chances, or does it have to come more from the players? Amorim will do what he can. Ultimately, that comes down to the player. People need to understand Amorim isn't a miracle worker. Nunes will never be this 50-goal-a-season striker that people believe he will be. If he was, he probably wouldn't be at us. That's the matter of fact. We need a similar managerial style to Klopp. I think Amorim is the most similar to Jurgen Klopp on the market, 100%. They'll come for you if he fails. Oh, I know. I'm cooked. I'm cooked if he fails, but I don't believe he will. He only needs to change the formation to get the best out of Liverpool. You can't be leaving players like Trent out. Klopp changed his formation when he came to Liverpool. Again, he went from 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3. But that was because he didn't have the plays for a 4-2-3-1. We were playing Milner as a 10. He was always effectively playing a 4-3-3. Like you saw Adam Lallana there occasionally, and yes, he did change his formation. But Amorim would. I don't think Amorim's like that. I don't think Amorim's system's like that. With the players are there already. We've got a better team than them. So Amorim would just step in with his 3-4-3 and he'd make minor tweaks, but you would still see him stick with that 3-4-3 most likely. What else? Don't you think we'll struggle with the style of play? He's not that attacking. Again, he's averaging 3 goals a game in the Portuguese League this season. He's attacking when he wants to be. I'm so scared of the Ten Hag scenario, my God. I just don't see why he would pick the uncertainty of the United project over us. This is the thing. People need to understand, yes, it's Liverpool, and we are what we are. We've been unlucky with certain things in the past in terms of missing out on key targets, but we're in a very good situation to be in. We are a very good situation to be in. Probably the best situation out of any club available this summer. We're stable financially. We've got a very good squad competing at the top level. The core is still very young. Got a top team, top fan base, no financial troubles, smart people run the football club. Everything just points to it being that like that. What else? I see Amorim starting with a 4-3-3 at the start time because the players are used to that. That's why he's got pre-season. He'll play for 3-4-3 in the pre-season. And you'll see it. And also this thing about the 3-4-3. Van Dijk has played in the back 3. Konate's played in the back 3. Trent's played in the back 3. Robertson's played in the back 3. Endo's played in a midfield 2. McAllister's played in the midfield pivot. Szoboszlai's played in a front 3. Salah's played in the front 3. Nunes has played in the front 3. Every single player in that starting 11 has played in a variation of a back 5. Ten Hag scenario means not implementing style of playing, covering it with dead football and some wins. Amorim wouldn't do that. Amorim lives and dies by style of play. Is Arne Slot a good backup if Amorim doesn't come? I've never really been moved by Arne Slot like that. I know we had success last year, but he doesn't really move me like that. What's his away record like against top sides in Portugal? We've tended to struggle. I will find that for you right now, my friend. Record versus Porto. Is this him as a player or as a manager? This is him as a manager. Okay. So I can't find it away necessarily. Against Porto, he's 1-4, drawn 4, lost 6. Against Benfica, 1-5, drawn 3, lost 4. And against Braga, 1-8, drawn 2, lost 2. It's not bad. It's really not bad. And I don't think that includes Benfica Wednesday. So I think he's got 6 against Benfica. Do you think we'll win the league this year? I think so. I'm scared the managers without Premier League experience. Every manager that we're after, bar De Zerbi, has no Premier League experience. Jurgen Klopp didn't have any Premier League experience. Benitez didn't have any Premier League experience. Houllier didn't have any Premier League experience. You get experience by getting the job and learning on the job. Inacio, we must, if we get Amorim. I'd love Inacio. But people, we've been live for an hour and a half. It's been an absolutely fantastic stream. The support, the chat, it's been ridiculous. I appreciate it all so very much. I'm leaving back tomorrow or Thursday for a preview of the Sheffield United game. Try something Thursday night as well for a reaction to that game as well. For any Ruben Amorim doubters, I hope it turns into believers. Trust in the man. He will take us back to the very top. If you're new and you're not ready, make sure on that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any more content. I'm going to love yous. I'm going to leave yous in a bit. Ta-ra, people.